And burn.
Hey everybody. So tonight I am attempting to discuss Margaret Atwood's absolutely fucking disastrous 2017 comic book, Angel Catbird. Angel Catbird, in case you didn't hear it. It's this. Fortunately enough, I picked this up for $4 at Talese. I like okay, well first off, I need to say a couple things about Margaret Atwood. I've never been a fan of hers. I felt that she was just so full of herself and she's just so self-obsessed that it's like all of her books, they never really rang true to me. It felt like they were sort of written out of spite. Like everyone always says, "Oh, you don't like Margaret Atwood? You don't like The Handmaid's Tale?" And it's like, well, no. I always felt like she wrote The Handmaid's Tale just because it pissed her off so much that a man wrote 1984. Again, it didn't feel genuine. It felt like she was just, a woman can do it too. A woman can do it better, you know? I've read Cat's Eye. It was okay. I've read, what else have I read? I've read Orcs and Crake. Orcs and Crake was by far my favorite out of the, I've read Wilderness, I've read Orcs and Crake, I've read The Handmaid's Tale, and I've read Cat's Eye. So it's 4 novels of Margaret's that I've read, and my favorite was Orcs and Crake. That was like, it had so many cyberpunk elements thrown in that I was completely surprised by that. But I don't know, overall, she just drives me crazy because she is so pompous and she has, like, her head is so far up her ass that she thinks everything she does is wonderful and miraculous. And I don't understand what would compel her to write this garbage. This is like it was written by a 13-year-old. Like, this is poorly written fan fiction. I'm not even sure where to begin. I'm going to try to keep this video short, but I think that's probably going to crash and burn because I mean, the intro, first off, the cover's wrong. He is not that, like, chiseled looking in the facial features. In it can regarding his facial features, sorry. In the book, he has a much softer appearance once he turns, and his face is not nearly, I don't know if you can see that or not, but his face is not nearly that hard, not that, like, stoic, I suppose. So the cover's wrong. And then the intro in this, like, she is so completely, like, her narcissism knows no bound, like, is boundless. Like, she just does whatever she wants and she thinks it's all great. Like, okay, here it is. Where is it? Some find it strange that a person known for her novels and poetry would take to writing comic books, especially comic books called Angel Catbird. Why is a nice literary old lady like me, and get ready to hear that a few times, an award-winning nice literary old lady, a nice literary old lady who should be resting on her laurels in her rocking chair, being dignified and iconic, why is such a nice old lady messing around with flying cat owl superheroes and nightclubs for cat people? Not to mention giant rat men. Strange. Well, it's because you absolutely have no self-respect whatsoever there, Margaret. Because this is just about the worst written comic book I have ever read. I cannot believe that she's proud of this. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, so the story, the main character in this, and here's a memorable name for everybody. The main guy who gets turned into Angel Catbird, his name is Strig Felidus. She says in the intro that she grew up reading comic books. Everything from, like Richie Rich to Spider-Man. And she points out Spider-Man as being one of the more complex characters that would happen in comic books later on. So she understands the complexity that a comic book character can have and how they can, the depth and the development and whatnot. And she knows that names like Peter Parker and Clark Kent, they ring truest with the public because they're easy to remember. So I just don't get Strig Felidus. That's, what a horrible name. And it's like, she said she used to draw. It was what was it called? Canada Culture Comics back in the 70s, and they were all spelled with a K because back in the 70s it was hip for some reason to spell Canada with a K. So she drew this comic strip called Canada Culture Comics for a magazine called This Magazine back then. And it's like, so you would think that she understands the intricacies that would go into creating a successful comic series. But she doesn't. This is way too sexualized. Like, I don't even, like, the bad guy, Dr. Morbius, or whatever his name is. Yeah, here it is. So he needs this serum that he has Strigg working on. And Strigg is working on it at his desk, by the way. He's got this little vial. I don't know if you can see it on his desk or not. But anyways, he's not working on it in a lab. He's sitting at his desk in an office next to his laptop, adding shit, making this potion that was going to cure all these diseases and everything that his boss, Dr. What's his name? Dr. Murroyd, another completely horrible choice of names, Murroyd. Jesus. He wants it. And so Dr. Murroyd, as it turns out, is a rat man. And that's a problem for him because once Strigg becomes Angel Catbird, cats eat rats. So anyways, so he says to his female rats, Dr. whatever the fuck, Dr. Murroyd says, "We'll test it on you, my beauties. Rat women! You can be the first in my delectable harem." That's right. "We'll test it on you, comma, my beauties, and then rat women," with an exclamation point. Comes out of nowhere in the same bubble. And it says, "You can be first in my delectable harem." So that means that Dr. Murroyd is going to fuck the rat women in his harem because, of course, any male character who isn't sensitive and in tune with cats, he's a predator. Just like every fucking male in every piece of work from Margaret Atwood, all men are bad and all women are good. And it's always that simple in her world too. If you're a man, you're a predator. If you're a woman, you're either a victim of the predatory men around you, or you've already ascended above them because you are female and therefore superior in some way. And it's like, this is just so, God, this is so bad. The fact that this rat guy wants to fuck rat women and the fact that she felt compelled to put this in here is just disgusting. Like, I don't want to think about this fat rat dude fucking rat women ever, okay? And so this book is a little too sexual too. So then the Strigg, or Angel's love interest, is a chick by the name of Kate Leone, who's also a cat person, who once he gets switched over and when he gets turned into Angel Catbird, it makes no sense. He runs out into the street to save his cat from being hit by a car, and he has the serum with him because he's at home working on it, putting sodium bicarb and whatever else in it in his fucking living room. And he runs out into the street to chase his cat, because his cat is an indoor cat. I'll touch on that in a second. And the cat gets hit by a car, and then the next panel, the serum's gone, and then the serum's smashing in the next panel, and he's laying in the serum, covered, the serum's all over him in the final panel, which will then turn him into Angel Catbird. This is fucking brain dead. The serum disappears, and the serum comes back, and the serum's all over him. And then it brings me to my next issue with this is all focused on sort of cats and cat people, which right there is going to cut off such a massive percentage of your potential customer base, because not everybody is this into cats. Like me personally, I'm not really into cats. Like, I don't want to see anything bad happen to cats, but I don't really like them. I'm more of a dog person. And at the bottom of every page, or most pages, sorry, there's some fact about cats, and it will relate to what's going on in the comic above the little blurb to do with the cat. So when Strigg's cat runs out into the street, it says, "Look out, keep your cats indoors, because most cats, they're never returned. If your cat gets out of the house, there's a better chance than not that it's unfortunately going to be eaten by a fox or a coyote, or it's going to end up getting hit by a car. So be sure to look after your cats." And it's really nice and everything, but it is just so out of place. Because it's like, I don't want a bunch of cat facts when I'm sort of engaging in the world of fantasy. I don't want to think about cats in my reality getting hit by cars and shit. It just doesn't make sense. And so he's introduced to Kate Leone, and then when he's trying to walk to work the next day, first, I know I'm kind of all over the place here and I apologize, but he wakes up and he can't drink coffee because coffee is poison to cats. And I found that out because at the bottom of this page here, it talks about how there's poisonous things out there everywhere for cats. They can't eat chocolate, they can't eat this, they can't eat that. And now that he's a cat, blah, blah, blah. And so as he's walking to work, he can understand what birds are saying now when they're chirping. And because, cats eat birds and birds hate cats. And this bird, sorry, keep in mind that this was written by what most Canadians consider to be the most celebrated female literary author in the history of our country. He sees the bird singing, I don't know if you can see that or not, and the bird, although he's chirping, he says in bird speak, "Get out of here, you rotten predator." Get out of here, you rotten predator. This was written by Margaret Atwood. Okay? This was written by Margaret fucking Atwood. Yeah, I know, she's a little up her own ass and everything, but I've read a handful of her books, and she's a better writer than this. I don't know why she would be proud of this. This is so embarrassing. So anyways, and then on the way to work, a cat picks a fight with him. He says, "Crap, I'm hearing voices, bird voices. None of this is happening." And then a cat says, "Meow," and that means, "Hey bud, I'm talking to you. Do you want to fight?" Like for real, Margaret Atwood wrote this. So he meets Kate Leone. She's a cat girl, and all of her cat buddies want to fuck her because naturally. Except she is suddenly attracted to Strig. She's like, "Oh man, and unless I'm mistaken, I know a half cat when I smell one." And so, boom, and she's like, "Oh my God, he's so attractive." And at one point throughout the book, she says, "Oh, the next time I'm in heat, looking at Strig or when he's in angel catbird form or whatever." This is fucking terrible. Like, I am so appalled by this. Like, it's just so self-serving, and it's just so out of touch with what nobody in the comic world wants to read this shit. You have to be a cat person, possibly a cat woman, and you have to be literally obsessed with cats to the point where you want to read a bunch of, look, cat-bird math. Cats are estimated to kill 200 birds a year in Canada. In the US, the figure is roughly 2.6 billion, and in the UK, about 55 million. Feral and stray cats are thought to be the cause of more than 60% of those estimated fatalities, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's all well and good. Cats hurt birds. You got to keep your cats indoors. Get your cats spayed and neutered and all that shit. Fine, fair enough. But this is not what the majority of the comic book readers out there, people like me, this is not what we want to read. I mean, quickly, too, I should also point out that this copy was autographed by her. Who cares? But yeah, so the comic goes on, and sexy Kate Leone or Leone or whatever, she's on stage performing half naked because all her cat boy friends want to fuck her again. And it's just disgusting. So along the way, we're introduced to a character, and I'm not even making this up. The character's name is Count Catula. He's part cat, part something else, and part vampire. And he falls asleep in Kate's dirty laundry, and he comes out of her laundry hamper, even though he's a fully grown adult male, with a bra on his head, because cats like to sleep in laundry. And then he makes a joke. My God, the joke. This is again written by Margaret Atwood. Where is it? I know I sectioned it off. There it is. So her cat guy friends that all want to bang her are pissing off Count Catula. Count fucking Catula is his name. "Dear lady, would you ask your two feline friends to abstain from comment? I might lose control and drink their blood. And I don't want rabies." I'll say it again. Margaret Atwood wrote this. And in the introduction, she discusses how obsessed she became with it. She acts like, she's like, all I did was think about, what would Count Catula's castle look like? And what would Count Catula have over here? And what would Strig have here in his apartment? And it's like, who fucking cares? Write a better story. Angel Catbird? He's part human, part cat, and for some reason part owl. Even though that doesn't really come into this at all because they don't even talk about owls at all. This was so completely half-assed. Margaret Atwood has no business writing comics. And the fucking crazy thing is there's a few volumes and they've all been published. I mean, the reviews, they universally pan this thing because it's fucking god-awful. And for somebody that claims to have grown up reading comics, she doesn't know the first thing about them. I don't believe anything that chick says. Every time Margaret Atwood opens her mouth, it's either a fucking lie or it's about herself and how she's superior to everybody else because, oh, look out, she's iconic, she's a poet. Why is she a fucking poet? Who says she's a fucking poet? She says she's a poet. And you're not allowed to criticize her because she's like a national treasure. She's like Pierre Elliott Trudeau or David Suzuki or some shit. Margaret Atwood is trash, okay? I thought Oryx and Crake was pretty fun, but oh god, this video's been running way too long. I can't help it. She just drives me fucking crazy. And I hate how focused she is on how, like, she seems to blame men for everything. Like, we're all the same. You know what I mean? Like, every male character in every book I've come across from her, they're always so heavily flawed. And whereas it always seems like all the female characters are always so virtuous and they're always able to walk on water, and it just drives me fucking crazy. And this comic book was god awful. I probably shouldn't even have done this video because I just can't stand Margaret Atwood. Like, she drives me nuts. Like, she drives me absolutely crazy. But I should probably stop because this video is going to be like 20 minutes. So that's it. I am giving up on that fucking piece of shit down there. Margaret Atwood's attempt at a comic book. Angel Catbird. Like, that's like bad fan fiction written by a 13-year-old. Like, we're talking like the Marvels level of bad. It's like, you know, Atwood probably loved the Marvels too because the Flurkins were in it. The stupid fucking cats. They could miniaturize people in their stomachs, but they wouldn't dissolve them in their stomach acid. Again, it's like the Marvels was poorly written fan fiction. I mean, who the hell wrote the Marvels anyways? They should never work in Hollywood again. Just like, God willing, Margaret Atwood never feels compelled to write another fucking comic book again, because, I mean, I've been thinking about it non-stop since I picked it up 3 or 4 days ago. Like, I can't stop thinking about how bad it is. And that's it. I'm getting out of here. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for way too long, almost 20 minutes, while I attempted to discuss, or I think I did discuss, while I attempted to say constructive things, but I don't think I did, about Margaret Atwood's, I think it's 2017 bullshit comic book, graphic novel, or whatever the fuck she's choosing to call it, Angel Catbird. Fortunately, it's not all of them, it's just the first part. The second part is to Castle Catula. Count Catula. Count Catula is an actual character name in this. That's it, I'm done. You guys are amazing. Don't forget that the world is a way better place because you are in it, and the world is not such a great place because this piece of shit comic book is in it. I'm gone. Have a good night.